Iya. Ladies and gentlemen, check, 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 check.
Desi ada minum nggak Des? Nggak ada ya? Ini aku ambil bawa. Udah makan belum kamu?
Cek, cek, cek. Udah. Udah. Ini cek, 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 cek. Segini aja, enough. Cukup. Udah. Good morning.
ధైర్యంగా. Chi, Lu, Chi, I, Chi, Seru, Lu, Chi, I, Chi, Seru.
Kita masukkan.
Cek.
Audio cetak.
Cek. Perhatian pada mahasiswa dan seluruh hadirin yang sudah ada di aula A. Dimohon untuk mengisi kursi bagian depan terlebih dahulu. Sekali lagi dimohon yang sudah berada di dalam aula gedung AFKMUI, para seluruh hadirin untuk mengisi kursi di bagian depan terlebih dahulu. Untuk yang berada di sayap kanan gedung aula AFKMUI dimohon untuk mengisi kursi bagian depan terlebih dahulu. Terima kasih. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly proceed to the ceremony room since we will momentarily begin the agenda. Thank you. Attention please, ladies and gentlemen. The agenda is about to begin. Please be seated and kindly turn your mobile off or switch to the silent mode throughout the agenda. And I would like to inform that we don't use any plastic bottle, so make sure you bring your tumbler with you, yet we provide dispensers and arsenum around the venue that you can freely use. Please don't leave anything behind. Bring your snack box whenever you want to leave this room, and place it right. If you need any assistance, please let us know. Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I would like to welcome you all on the day 2 of the 3rd Faculty of Public Health Universitas Indonesia Science Festival. And we are now going to continue our agenda for the plenary session. And this is the 3rd phase of the plenary session with environmental health. Together with us all, the speakers for this session, His Excellency Senior Assistant Professor, International Research Institute for Disaster Science, Tohoku University, Japan, Dr. Masatoshi Suzuki, His Excellencies Visiting Professor of Environmental Health, University Selangor, Malaysia, Professor Dr. Jamal Hisham Hasim, and His Excellency Secretary of Center for Disaster Studies, IPB University, Indonesia, Dr. Ferdinand. Ladies and gentlemen, research says that air quality, climate change, the safe management of chemicals, and sufficient, reliable, and safe sources of water, food, and energy are the great public health challenges of today and tomorrow in a world marked by population growth, urbanization, longevity, and economic growth and prosperity. It is also obvious that the core responsibility of public health is to ensure safe, equitable, and health-protecting and promoting conditions in this rapidly changing world. Now, I would like to invite our moderator, Professor Budi Haryanto, to come forward and start this plenary session. With my honor, please welcome Professor Budi Haryanto.
Thank you. Very good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Actually, we will have 3 speakers this session, but we are very unfortunate that Dr. Masatoshi Suzuki having not good feeling this morning, and still we have 2 prominent speakers, Professor Jamal Hasim and also Dr. Ferdinand. And allow me to read the CV of Professor Jamal Hasim. He is a visiting professor of environmental health at University Selangor. He is also director of Provenue Corporation with specialists in health risk and impact assessment. He was formerly a research fellow at United Nations University, IIGH, and Malaysia's first appointed professor of environmental health at the National University of Malaysia. Prof. Jamal obtained his PhD in environmental health from the University of Michigan. He has conducted research and consultancy in environmental and occupational health at UTM and UNU for the past 36 years, and has supervised a total of 14 PhD students. He has a lot of experience, so many publications, and also the expert of environmental health that very close with the government of Malaysia. So we will have 30 minutes probably because Professor Dr. Masatoshi cannot present his paper. So each of the presenters will have 30 minutes, and we do the panel. First, Professor Jamal will present the PowerPoint, and then
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi semua. Apa kabar warga Depok? Sehat-sehat semua ya. Greeting from Malaysia. Thank you very much to the organizer for giving me this opportunity to come to UI again to present about the health and risk impact assessment. In 2017, I was here for 2 weeks to conduct research on school health in 8 schools around Depok, together with Baba. So I'm glad to be back here. I'm also staying near where I stayed before. Before I stayed in the apartment, now I stayed in the Santika Hotel. So today I've been given the task to talk on the application and challenges in health risk and impact assessment in Malaysia. Basically, my talk will cover in general the environment and health. And then we did an exercise in Malaysia to identify the top environmental health issue in Malaysia. So I'll show this to you and you will see whether the problem we have in Indonesia is similar to what we have in Malaysia. And then I will talk a little bit about environmental health risk and impact assessment, looking at different methodology that we can employ, both qualitative and quantitative health risk assessment. And then I will also share with you a very recent event that we encountered in Malaysia, where we had a problem with a small chemical disaster. Okay. So globally, if we look at the relationship between environment and health, according to the World Health Organization, 23% of all global deaths can be linked to the environment. Can you imagine that? Almost a quarter of global deaths can be associated with the environment. And look at where it's happening. It's happening in our area, in the Southeast Asia and the South Asia region, Western Pacific region. Okay, and these are the hazards in the environment, from air pollution to water sanitation, chemical, and so on, even climate change, which can have serious impact on health, including mortality. And about 60% are actually related to outdoor and indoor air quality. So I was watching the news yesterday. There's forest fire now going on in Palangkaraya and Jambi, and also one more area in Sumatra. And we are also experiencing some haze in Malaysia right now. So there is a need for us to address this health risk and impact assessment from the environment. So we have what we call environmental health risk assessment. And fortunately, science allows us to do this, to describe the nature and estimate the probability and severity of risk. So when we talk about risk, we always look at these two aspects: the probability of that risk happening, and if it happened, what would be the outcome, how severe is the outcome. And sometimes risk cannot be eliminated. For example, long-term carcinogenic cancer risk cannot be eliminated. So we define what is acceptable level. It cannot be zero. And risk is a function of hazard and exposure. If we can remove the hazard, well, that's good, because then we eliminate it. But if we cannot eliminate the hazard, then we have to control exposure. So that's how we play around with risk minimization, we call it. And exposure is a function of dose and duration. The higher dose of the hazard you are exposed to, the higher the risk, and the longer it is, the higher is the risk also. And some hazard has a threshold, and while others do not. Like for example, cancer, we cannot define the lowest level, so we cannot define the threshold. So we did an exercise, as I mentioned earlier, among selected experts from the government, industries, and also environmental related NGO. We brought them together and asked them to do a scoring on the most important or critical environmental health issue for Malaysia. Because as you know, environmental health is not the chosen one. We always have to fight for the little limited resources, especially fund. So we cannot do everything. So we want to prioritize so that we can tell the government these are the most critical aspects. So if you look here, children environmental health come up very top because we want to preserve our environment for the future generation. I'm already 62 years old. So, but I care for the young one, people like you, and also probably your children. Vector-borne diseases, unfortunately, is our unfinished business. Dengue is still a problem, maybe it's here too. Contamination of drinking water sources, not so much from biological, but from chemical. Urban health, 77% of Malaysians now live in cities. I don't know what is the percentage in Indonesia. Climate change, high rising temperature, rising sea level, food safety and contamination, pesticide, exposure to environmental chemicals, and so on. Okay, so there is a need to what we call assess the impact assessment, and health impact assessment is the process of estimating the potential impact of this hazard that we saw just now, chemical, biological, physical, and social, on the human population under a specific set of conditions and certain time frame. Okay, so I come up with this diagram because we need to see everything in a proper perspective. So this is what I call my concept of environmental health risk and impact assessment. We begin with the source, and then we have the hazard. It can be different type of hazard. The source can be stationary, man-made, or natural sources. And then the exposure, the dose and duration. Remember I told you with dose and duration, it can be acute or chronic exposure, and we need to look at the dose response function, whether it's threshold, non-threshold, linear, and so on. And the route of exposure, frequency of exposure. So when we have hazard and exposure, we have risk. And we can do qualitative and quantitative impact assessment that will come up with the health impact. It can be acute, chronic, cancer, non-cancer, and then we will be able to identify the most pertinent issue, so that we can minimize risk. Minimize risk by working on the hazard and also on the exposure, either one. Okay. So I mentioned to you there are two approaches to health risk and impact assessment. One is the qualitative, and the other is the quantitative. So we look at the qualitative first. It merely characterizes or compare the hazard of a chemical relative to others, or define the hazard in only qualitative terms such as mutagen or carcinogen, which connote certain risks or safety procedure, and as such may not necessarily require a numerical assessment of risk. So it's more of a qualitative and subjective health impact assessment. Now, we devised this qualitative, a simple tool, qualitative health risk impact assessment for Malaysia, which we will implement throughout the country. So I was involved in coming up with this tool. We look at for a specific area, we look at the source, and then from the source, what are the hazards that come from it. And for the hazard, we assess in terms of probability, kebarangkalian, and severity, keterukan. Okay? And then we do a hazard rating. After that, we do an exposure rating. Exposure rating, we look at the population density in that area and the exposure profile. Who are or what are the sensitive receptors, for example, residential areas, school, recreational, hospital, and so on. So the more sensitive receptor you have in that area, the higher will be the rating. And then we do the risk rating by multiplying hazard and exposure rating. Yeah? So this is how we do the rating. We look at what's available in the world, for example, from the US, from WHO, and from the government of Western Australia, and we take the best. Okay? We take the best. So we do a rating on probability and severity from 1 to 5 based on this quantifier or descriptor. Okay? For example, rare mean is unlikely to happen once in more than 10 years, or almost certain, likely to occur more than once in a year. And for severity, we look whether there can be fatality, for the 1 to 3, no fatality, for 4 and 5, several fatality, and whether it's affect a large or a small population. Okay? So then for each hazard, we can do the rating based on probability and severity. For example, if a hazard is almost certain and the severity is major, that will give you a score of 9. Okay? And then for the exposure rating, we look at the area. I don't know how I know you have the provinsi provinsi, kabupaten. Then we have state, district, and mukim. So we do this at the mukim level, the smallest mukim level. So we look at the population of that mukim. For example, the population is 600 person per square kilometer, so it falls under 3. And then what are the available sensitive receptors? For example, if there are residential, school, and recreational area, so that will be 7 plus 5 plus 4 will give you 16. So that is the exposure rating. Okay? So then, going back to what I mentioned earlier, risk rating is the summation of the hazard rating times the exposure rating. So the outcome is we get something like this. Something like this. This is for the state of Perak. State of Perak. Macam provinsi lah. State of Perak. So you have those with very high rating, and the dots represent the hazard sources. So they can be garbage, legal and illegal garbage disposal site. It can be industries, it can be sewage treatment plant, and also miscellaneous. Okay? So you can see where you have a lot of these hazard sources, the risk rating will be high. So basically we want the administrator to use this tool and to map their area to see which area has high risk, and they can then look at where the risk is coming from. What are the sources or hazards that are giving the risk? Yeah? And then we can also do the quantitative risk assessment, where this generates numerical measure of risk or safety of a chemical exposure, where you calculate or you quantify the risk. Yeah? Of course, I don't have the time to go over in detail, but we can do two things. One is the hazard quotient, and the other is the cancer risk. Yeah? Where the USCPA will give you all this formula on how to calculate this. Basically, is the concentration of the pollutant, the exposure frequency, exposure duration, everything time, and so on and so forth. Yeah? So you can determine the concentration, and you can calculate the cancer and hazard quotient. For example, in Johor Bahru, we did a study to measure volatile organic compound, formaldehyde. You know, some of these are carcinogen, like formaldehyde and then benzene in VOC. And we found that, surprisingly, even in school, you have all these BTEC, yeah? Benzene, toluene, dibenzene, xylene, present in the school. Either from outdoor air pollutant or from indoor air, from the furniture and things like that. Yeah? And we were surprised that benzene was quite high there, 31.7, the highest maximum value, and this is above the EU standard of 5 microgram per meter cube. Yeah? So you might be also want to know what is the benzene level in Jakarta school, for example. And you know that benzene is associated with cancer, specifically leukemia, specifically acute myeloid leukemia. So we know a lot about how benzene, because benzene will produce an epoxide, yeah, which is damaging to the DNA. And we did a lifetime leukemia risk for Johor Bahru resident. It comes to 3.1 times 10 minus 5. So, yeah, that is 3 in 100,000 population, over a lifetime span of about 70 years. Okay? Then we have other issues. I'm just trying to flash through some of the issues we have. I'm sure you have a lot of mining here. Yeah? Here in Malaysia, we started with tin mining, and then tin price went down, and we had to abandon tin mining. But now the price gone up again, so we go back and mine tin. And wherever tin is present, you will get arsenic. Yeah, arsenic. So we had some problem with arsenic poisoning from this tin mine, but somehow I think we made the mistake of putting the tin mine above our treatment plant, water treatment plant. You see this the air ganda, yeah? Because this tin mine was from the British era, yeah? Those time, and then this one came later, yeah? The what do you call that? Water treatment plant. Okay? So we had a problem of arsenic poisoning, and we are still looking at this, and we haven't calculated the risk. But you know, arsenic. If you talk about arsenic, the country that comes to your mind would be Bangladesh, and also Taiwan and Cambodia. So how am I doing with timing? Okay. Timing still okay? So we went into Cambodia because Cambodia had a problem with arsenic, not from tin mining, but from groundwater extraction, because the Mekong carry the arsenic from the China and Tibetan plateau, yeah, and deposited it in Cambodia. Yeah? And some of the area like Kandal is very contaminated in groundwater. So when we did a cancer risk probability, in Kandal, for example, almost 100% has a risk of 1 in 10,000. That means if you drink that water for a lifetime, yeah, the likelihood of you developing cancer is 1 for every 10,000 population. And we have seen this, yeah, in Cambodia. even people who do not smoke, get lung cancer, and then of course they have skin cancer, is the main issue, bowel disease and so on. So you can do the hazard quotient. As you can see, 1 is there, acceptable. Hazard quotient 1 is acceptable. In Kandal is 98 times the acceptable value. So you kind of it. Okay, thank you. So you have this problem of long-term exposure to arsenic in terms of skin lesion and also skin cancer and other form of cancer. Recently, we were shocked with or surprised with chemical disaster. This is something new for us. We have been doing health risk and impact assessment for normal activity, but this one was a chemical disaster where we had this problem of illegal toxic dumping into a river in one of the industrial area north of Singapore. Initially, it was a water pollution issue, which then evolved into air pollution issue, and the compounding effect of weather made this thing worse. And as we have suspected, children more affected than adults because of their immature respiratory system and because their metabolism is higher, so they breathe in more air per body weight basis, and this has caused a problem. So you can see here, this is where they dump the illegal toxic dumping along Sungai Kim Kim, which flows to the sea. And very close by are 2 schools, which were seriously affected. And this was the site. It's just a small river, but they dump this toxic chemical. They're supposed to send it to a toxic waste disposal site, which is quite far away and costly. So what they do, middle of the night, after midnight, they just reverse the lorry, dump everything in here, and this one flow through residential area, so we have to call the hazardous material team, HAZMAT, to clean up. And then this is just the river, the Sungai Kim Kim. It flows down to the Strait of Johor, and this is Singapore down here. Actually Singapore was not affected, but we had like 1, 2, 3, 4 waves of toxic waste attack, and 100 victims, 260 victims, 560 victims, and this was the situation. The school became the red zone. The red zone, we have to call the emergency team, and altogether, almost 6,000, mostly children, were affected, and some of them were admitted to the ICU. So it was, thank God, luckily, no death. So what was the chemical in question? It was methane, hydrogen chloride, acrylonitrile, acrolein, and benzene too. But the main culprit is here for acute, because you look at this AEDL, is acute exposure guideline level. For acrolein, it exceeds AEDL 2 and 3. AEDL 3 is already lethal, is already dead. So luckily, that's why I say luckily nobody died. And for chronic exposure, we look at benzene. At this level of exposure, if this had continued for 60 days, then we have reached the unacceptable lifetime cancer risk of 1 in 10,000. Luckily, the situation was stopped, and we had. So this is the new threat that we face in Malaysia now. Yeah, acute chemical disaster. We are lucky. Unlike Indonesia, we don't have volcano, and we have just small earthquake in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, just one, not like here, and we also scared of tsunami. But this is the kind of disaster, man-made disaster, not natural disaster, but man-made disaster, that can happen, and the situation can just be as bad. So that's why we need to look into this health risk assessment, so that we can be more prepared and we can know what to do to anticipate the threat of the future. Similarly, the haze, the recurrent, and I believe this year is also like El Nino year, so we are now prepared to face the haze. Now is September, so this is the time that we normally experience the haze. Okay, so with that, I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you about what we do in Malaysia, and hopefully, we can continue this collaboration. And if you are interested in the tool, I will also be glad to share. We are publishing. We have published the tool, and hopefully we can also share it with others. It's a very simple tool meant for developing country, but you can also do it, elaborate in terms of quantitative and health risk assessment. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bro Jamal. Before inviting Dr. Ferdinand, I'd like to share you the city of him. Well, actually, when I see the city of Dr. Ferdinand, yes, he is a rising star right now in Indonesia. The young scientist from IDB. Dr. Ferdinand is graduated from Michigan State University and geography with a specialization in environmental science and policy. Graduate with GPA of 3.96. He has a lot of experience in, especially in climate change related to geospatial and what others. Okay, let's see the topic what he is going to present. Deployment of geospatial technology for national environmental health risk assessment, challenge and opportunities. So it's very related with the Prof. Jamal presentation today. Then Dr. Ferdinand, the time is yours.
Selamat pagi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, it is my honor to attend this session. Thanks to the Dean of the Faculty, Budi as moderator, and all the invited speaker and also audience. So my background is quite different actually. I haven't touched the public health sector before. Just in the recent 3 years, I was working quite a lot with the Ministry of Health to define what is the health sector activities to combat with the climate change and environmental risk. My undergraduate degree is a meteorologist, so I learned how to predict weather. And then I went to Australia to study resource economics when I want to value the money for rainfall. How much you need to put a price for a rainfall. Because it's not easy when only talking about the environment without talking economics, particularly when you are dealing with the policymakers. And then I went to Michigan State. Professor Jamal was going to University of Michigan, yeah. So actually we were enemy at that time because UMich and Michigan State is a rival for many things. And I shift again my educational background to geography. And I know UI has a geography department, while IPB doesn't have it. So I need to think with Ministry of Research and Education later on. So, and before graduation, I took environmental science and policy when I also learned what just Professor Jamal explained. So this is like changing your educational background to value other resource discipline. Because when you just learn in one discipline, sometimes you think you are the best one in the world. But when you learn other discipline, you will know you don't know nothing. That's actually my first glance. You come back to Indonesia, I'm working a lot with the ministry, particularly designing or drafting many regulations. Because with this different background, so it's like helped me a lot on drafting the regulation. Because sometimes we as a scientist, we produce very thick fat reports, right? Like 100 pages to 100 pages. When you go into policy things, sometimes you have to reduce into one paragraph. So that's the question. This is my experience when meeting with one of ministry in Indonesia, Ministry of Women and Empowerment and Child Protection. I'm working with them. My friend provided 200 pages of report, and they just say we will receive your program if you can back to me with one paragraph. That's why I'm learning from that one. So to short my introduction, I will talk about deployment of geospatial technology for national environmental health assessment, opportunities and challenges, as a request by the organizers. So thank you very much for the organizers. This is also my first time in attending like this kind of educational conference. I just travel around this country to working with the government, not with the educational practitioner or academician. Even I'm a lecturer at Bogor Agricultural University. So thank you very much for UI to have me here. So can you go on? So if we look at the topic of this conference, public health challenge toward disruptive technology era, there is one mind in my thought. We have to think differently. Even the way we teach, even the way we approach the education must be different. How come when I just be a student, when I was a student, we also do the same thing, attending a class, hearing to the lecture, doing the assignment, and go home, that's it. Till now, it's still the same. While we already raising disruptive era, what do you mean by disruptive era? Means everything must be think differently and maybe act also differently. Maybe we have to learn more from our students rather than from the professors. Because sometimes we prepare them, we prepare our students using what we know 10 years ago to prepare them to anticipate what's going to happen 20 years from now. So there is, maybe we define the disruptive era. And one of thing in environmental health, I look at in Ministry of Health SDGs 2030, means what we need to prepare till 2030. At least there is 5 goals very strongly related with environmental health. The goals number 2, zero hunger. This is related to public health nutrition. Maybe I don't need to talk a lot about this one because you are from the faculty of community health. It must be better than myself to understand about this one. But the nice thing is, all of these goals actually they are related to each other, and there is no single discipline can tackle all of the goals. So collaboration is needed. The third goals over there is good health, national health system. So what we mean by national health system? Can we measure everything automatically? What I'm thinking now is if you just use your smartphone and the smartphone will read your location, they will let you know about the potential risk to a number of diseases in that area. That's what we name national health system. What just Prof. Zamal already present is the result of analysis. Maybe 2, 3, 5 experts working with 20 assistants, right? How we can make it everything automatically? That's actually technology era. And then the others, clean water, sanitation, and equality of health. This is all that is related, and the goals of SDGs, which is very strongly related with your expertise. The last one that I'm put there is climate action. Even there, talking about take-push action to combat climate change and its impact. Actually, climate change is not only talking about the climate itself. As you know, one important environmental issue that is still ongoing till now is climate change. Because what? Because everybody is talking about it. It's not only us as climatologists. By education, people know me globally and also nationally as a climate change expert. But actually what I'm like about climate change is everybody is talking about climate change. Even Professor Jamal also stated about climate change. Because this is one issue that every discipline can working together. This one, the specific impact of climate change, I'm just raise one concern. But if you look at, even in saying impact of climate change on human health, but actually it's talking about everything. Water quality impact, water and food supply impact, environmental degradation, extreme heat, everything. What is the causes? This is the causes. Rising temperature, more weather extreme, rising sea level, increasing CO2 level. This is that we cannot do much about it because this is given by the nature. Unless the land demand is decreasing, that is almost impossible. Because everybody wants to have a big houses. For now, maybe you just want small houses because of economic condition. When you have more, you want more. That's actually the root of all the issues. So in here, published by CDC in 2014, you know, this environmental climate can affect air pollution, factor ecology, intrusive allergen, water quality impact, and so on and so on. Eventually, this will then impact the particular diseases that causing human health. Pak Budi, I know, is more expert than myself on this one, but in here I just want to let you know how this small diagram maybe last for the next 5 years. Because if you see, this diagram already grouped what we need to do in our research. If you work on malaria, dengue, whatever in here, even I don't know what this is actually, because I'm a modeler, so for myself the important thing is what is the causes. That's what important for myself. So if you work with malaria, dengue and everything, you need to work on changes in factor ecology. Then you can streamline the details. What is the factor ecology? What impact the change in factor ecology is all of this one. In climatology, actually we have 135 variables, can be more than that. But public only understand like 5 to 10 climate variables. Temperature, rainfall, humidity, radiation, and pressure, right? But actually we have more. If you work on respiratory allergies or asthma, it's mean increasing allergens. So you can then detail it. What is increasing allergen? This is your particular diseases. In some, actually, this small diagram helped me a lot because the national government asked me to provide them with national healthcare system. How we can develop national healthcare system that is driven by climate change. So just looking at this diagram, we know where is the limitation and boundaries. Because that's actually the main points. When you want to do research or application, you just need to understand what is your boundary. You cannot do everything, right? So this is the goals of Indonesian government. We already submit national determined contribution in 2016. That is the medium-term goal of Indonesian climate change adaptation strategies is to reduce risk. This is the target. Now the question is, what we mean by the risk? Is this the risk of a number of population? Is this a risk of the areas, the number of areas, or what? So this is need to be articulated. And then on all development sector, agriculture, so on, and we also have health in here. Until 2030, through, this is the process, local capacity strengthening, improved knowledge management, convergent policy, climate change adaptation and disaster resilience, and the last one, application of adaptive technology. The first one, local capacity strengthening, has not been defined yet. For example, many students are graduated from University of Indonesia. Do we mean the local capacity strengthening already achieved? To whom we should report this? To what subject? And so on and so on. That's actually the challenge faced by the government now. And unfortunately, I was asked by the government to create this system. So maybe I will learn a lot from the audience during the question and answer. How we define risk now? Because this is the target, to reduce risk. Actually, this is almost similar to what Professor Jamal just presented. Professor Jamal just add impact, right? So risk is a combination of hazard, probability, and exposure. We just add the probability and exposure is more socio-economic processes. So the drivers for probability and exposure is more on socio-economic process. Socio-economic pathway, adaptation, mitigation action, and governance. So politics and everything is part of the pressure to probability and exposure. And for the hazard, we just look at natural variability and anthropogenic climate change. So when you talk like just Professor Jamal present, like a particular diseases, we mean them as an impact. Because our point of view just based on socio-economic process and the climate. That's our point of view. And this is in circle, means what? When they are combined, these three variables are combined, they produce what they call risk. If the risk is happen, then we make impacts. The different opinion in here is we can project up to 100 years from now. Using the geospatial technology and climate science, we projected what is the likely environmental condition for the next 100 years. Even the recent technology, they try to provide until 2300. So 300 years from now. So this is actually maybe what you call disruptive technology era, because they are thinking beyond the boundaries. Alright? So how we value the risk? This is how we value the risk. You can follow the step, and maybe you can just work on a single box. Alright? Because this is all the step. First, what is the causing factors? Topography, geographic, geolocation, like in Malaysia and Indonesia, they are different, something like that. So this will lead to different climate fluctuation. Many people, like 2 days ago, I was called by one of national television, but unluckily I cannot attend because I don't want to attend actually. Because they asked me to talk about drought in the middle of August. August is dry month. How come you talk about drought in dry month? You told me about drought in the wet season. Then that is a problem. But you have a problem with drought in dry months. It's not disaster. It is more your anticipation. How come you have drought in dry month when you already have wet season before? That's actually how you manage it. That's the question. And then with this climate fluctuation, you will have weather or climate extreme. This is actually many people is interested in, right? Flood, drought, and everything. Actually, this one, weather and climate extreme. Why I still put another flow? Because weather and climate extreme doesn't mean disaster. Very high rainfall doesn't mean disaster. Why you call it disaster? Because the rain flowing the waters to your houses. If the rain flowing the waters to the river, you might take a picture of it, right? Because it's not flood, you see. So it is really depending how you seize and how you manage. And when the disaster occurs, we can classify into even frequency, impacted area, and even duration. This is very complex issues because how you define disaster when you want to allocate funding to help the victims. If there is flooding, only lasts for 2 hours, it is disaster or just inundation, right? So this must be articulated into policy programs. And when I'm talking with Ministry of Finance, actually that's the issue. Because if you put not rigid rule, everybody will ask the money from you, right? And then when you have this all three things combined, then you can talk about the impacts or damage power. In the subject just raised by Professor Jamal, we are talking about those relationship, right? Actually, this is about the damage. When I studied dose and response, using what mouse is, right? Something like that, mice. Actually, how come the statistical can be applied to this kind of analysis? Because there is a big uncertainty. So it is similar to this one. Then, if you know the damage power, you can calculate loss and damage. So the main challenge is, because I'm a climate scientist, people asking me, can I provide this for the next 20 years? The question, I say, I guess up to here is okay. But till this one, no. Because what? Because there is large uncertainty and propagation errors. But then I offer a solution. Can you just see the direction? Because sometimes we are debating something that is not necessary. We debate something too specific on the accuracy, while actually we just need the direction. This is to right or to the left. For example, when I'm attending this big university, very nice university, I don't know where is this building. I don't need to ask in what latitude and longitude, right? I just ask them, where is the direction? To the left, to the right, then I go through. This is actually need to be defined about accuracy. And I'm talking this one to BIG, Badan Informasi Geospasial. This is a nice thing about that one. They at the end they accept my opinion because I'm graduating from geography. I say my doctor in geography. I'm not climate change expert actually. So this is also need to be discussed in this technology era, in disruptive era. Can we learn from anyone rather than just hearing or trying to understand what is their degree, right? So this is also something in mind. So how then I divine for health system? So for health, I know this one, climate variability and so on. So actually there is geophysical factors that can affect the pathogen, socioeconomic factors that also can affect these two things, pathogen and factors. So these are combined will provide disease incidence. Disease incidence can be felt by individual or can be visualized in a region that maybe you claim as endemic or something like that, right? So to create a national health assessment for individual will be very difficult. But for regional level, we can come up with it. That's why we provide ministerial decree in 2018 to help the analysis divide into 4 different levels: macro, meso, micro, and point-based location. As of now, we are creating this one, the Health National Adaptation Plan, working with Ministry of Environment and Forestry. So if Professor Jamal talking about Malaysia, I'm really talking about Indonesia. What's happened in Indonesia now on health sector. So for Health National Adaptation Plan, this is all the step. What I'm going to talk is only this one. Conduct health probability assessment including short and long-term adaptation need in the context of development priorities. So you can read this one again and maybe can help you out for your dissertation and thesis or so on, because each step actually need one research or more. Alright? So how we do it? We use geospatial technology. In geospatial technology, actually there is a geographic information system, global navigation satellite system, remote sensing, and other emerging technology. Everybody already uses geospatial technology now, because every time you want to go somewhere else, you will ask Google Map. It's very simple, right? Whenever you use YouTube, they also know where you are located at. Right? So this is actually geospatial technology. So the data can be from in situ observation, like what just Prof. Jamar may be doing, measuring, observe in many locations, right? It can be also from satellite or radar. And this is the new one, numerical weather and climate models. Even we name it climate models, actually the variables also include socioeconomics, governance, and everything. They just make it everything into mathematical models. I don't know why. Maybe they don't have much attention from the family, so can spend a lot of time in creating the numerical models. With this one, you can predict what happened in the next 10, 20, 30 years. It is actually in simple concept is like this. If I add 300 people to this room, you will feel hotter or colder? Hotter, right? Because there will be more people. This is what we do. So we are not taking like observation from the field, no. But we create the model based on the concept and theory. And then we validate with the analysis. So even though there is no model at all in the field, no problem. As long as you have very strong concept. This is actually what we made in here. The data collection can be like this. You might have surveys and so on and so on. I don't want to spend more about this one. The layers in geospatial technology, the nice thing about this technology is you can combine almost whatever data you have. This is surveillance from point, right? You might have species distribution. You might have vegetation, terrain. Everything is different, but you can combine them for your utilization. Right? So I'm using this to develop this probability assessment. we can, during question and answer, if you need the details, we will discuss about this one. But at least this is all the data that we use. This is all the indicators. The data can be more than the indicators, right? Because you have to compare indicators, not comparing the data. Because it could be in Java and in Irian Jaya, the data is different, but the indicator can be the same. For example, the indicator is welfare. That's the indicator. The data can be access to food, can be the source of income, right? So using this one, we create the analysis and we produce this map. This is the same, right? Like Prof. Jamal, vulnerability, exposure, sensitivity, adaptive capacity. The different just in the spatial pattern. We provide the spatial analysis. So for the government to look at countrywide, it's easier. Alright? And this is the equation that we use. And then for the hazard, this one, this is the hazard. This is the hazard. Indicative prone to DBD, indicative prone to diarrhea, indicative prone to pneumonia, and indicative prone to malaria. This is actually the models. So we didn't take any observation at all. We just used the model and produced this one. My raising question with the Ministry of Health when I produced this image. If you see, indicative prone to malaria, everything is red. While the data, this one is historical incident to malaria, is only the Papua. This is red. But based on their review, this is right. Even they can use this map to define what they need to do in many locations. So if, for example, in here is red and now is green, they say their action to combat the malaria diseases in this area is successful. Even when hearing that one and saying, no, I still need to do the validation. You claim it because it's a benefit to you, right? We need still to do the transfer. But if you see for others, like this one BBD, this is red, they can have it, you see? It's almost the same, right? So this is the pictures that we created because this is already modeled. So if you changing the factors, for example, what's going to happen in the next 10 years, you will have different map, right? So because you change the variables, you will have different map. So if we combine with the internet technology, and we can access the climatic data, for example, land use data, this map will change daily, right? So this is technology already playing in room. Server and everything is needed. So if we combine the hazard and the vulnerability, is very similar to Professor Jamal actually. This is the risk. So we can run not only for Indonesia with this technique, even we can run for all Southeast Asia, even the globe. That's about the utilization of geospatial technology. So what is the change? I'm talking before is the opportunity, right? The opportunity offered by geospatial technology. What is the challenge? The challenge is first one, level of analysis. Sometimes, particularly the student, when you want to do thesis or dissertation, you are struggling to define your level of analysis. Because you want to do everything. You think very big. Then you need to scrutinize, narrow down to which one. If you do more participatory, actually you are just point-based location. So just this is your boundaries. And this is what you need to do. This is already regulated in this ministerial decree. So I have my research, I submit to the government, and then they make it to be a ministerial decree. This is what I'm trying to do now. With Ministry of Health, that's also my intention, to try collect as much as possible and creating those regulations. Data resources, this is also the problem. It is very nice to have all Indonesian covered, right? But then the issue is how you find the data. The data are a lot, but sometimes it's very hard to find only to fulfill your needs. Because what? Because you just define yourself based on the data, not the concept. If you define the concept, the data can be created. Because data is the first point of modeling. There is no right data set. There is no accurate data set actually. Because how you can say it accurate, what is the number of population of Depok? It will be different, right? From one sources to another sources. Because you just take samples. So this is the challenge. The next one is data compatibility. You are dealing with very different data set. So how they are the compatibility? One may be at the spatial location is a point, the other is administrative boundary, the other one is grid level, point-based level. This is the problem. The last one is the model resolution. This is the last one, the model resolution. If you see, maybe I just want to spend about like 30 seconds to 1 minute because maybe this is important for you to know. You do some analysis which is very point-based location, but then your model resolution cannot capture the hazard impact. This is actually, I want to capture the extreme rainfall. If you use 36 kilometer data, up to 4 kilometer data, they capture differently. With this in mind, this is the discussion from myself. After this is the slide that you are very glad about. It's about thank you slide. So usually student is waiting for the thank you slide, right? So this is my slide. This is the discussion. Geospatial technology over capacity for risk assessment, climate data, geospatial, socioeconomic. But the risk assessment also pose challenge with level 2 of level analysis, data resources, data compatibility, and model resolution. With that in mind, hopefully that will help you out, particularly to define your thesis, dissertation, and reactor. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Ferdinand. How is your feeling? Good speaker, very amazing. Okay, now prepare your question, prepare your, probably you want to make a confirmation. And we still have about 30 minutes for discussions. And 30 minutes means that probably we will have two terming with 3 questions for each terming. Please prepare your question in a short sentence. So we will have a lot of discussion afterwards. Okay, I would like to invite Prof. Jamal and Dr. Ferdinand to come to the podium. We have the chair over here. Okay, distinguished participants, I'd like to invite you for the question, comment, and clarification. One, from America. From this side? Not yet? Okay, let's go first time.
Thank you. Good morning. My question is to Dr. Ferdinand. I'm interested to understand about the model. You show that indicative prone to pneumonia. I don't see red in Rio or Kalimantan, which right now, or have been many years impacted by burning of the land. So my question is, have you considered in this model regarding the effect of haze to the land health? Thank you very much.
Could you please do your name, please?
My name is Abinalan from Pasca program.
also the model. I mean, can you a bit more specific in terms of what are the assumptions to the model? Thank you.
One more? Okay.
My name is Ahmad Sokwan. I'm from Functional Program University Indonesia. I would like to ask Professor General Rizal about the SD thinking. What is the condition SD thinking today? Is still poisonous by arsenic or unhappy? And what about the tin mining news? And then number two, still to Professor Jamal. What about the forest fire in Indonesia? Especially today is hot session. The Indonesia has some spot fires. What about the in Malaysia? And number two to Ferdinand. My background is computer science, and I study on GIS and spatial analysis. I'm talking, or I ask about the data. We get data, or we have two main maps to get the data. It is Google Maps and OpenStreetMap. I use OpenStreetMap, it is free, but it's rather not so complete. But Google Map is complete but so limited. And my question is, what is your suggestion for us to use the maps? I mean on two main maps, OpenStreetMap and Google Maps. Which one is the suitable for us to do research, to use it as a data? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's have the answer from Pak Ferdinand.
Okay, thank you very much. First one from Pak Agus Dahlia. I already made the statement before. I declare I'm not a epidemiologist or public health practitioner. I'm a modeler. So it's really what is the inputs that is given to me. That is, I define how the model should look like. So if you give more explanation, I will have more complete models. That's actually the basic thing. And when you in Kalimantan, for example, the haze, forest fire. Forest fire is on the impact side because the climate might dictate the forest fire. For example, you might burn the forest, but during wet season, it will just degrade, right? So actually, I'm more on the housing factors when modeling. So if you say whether or not I consider it, yes, of course. But then whether or not you should put into your model, that's the next question, right? And then the second one is this map is annual map, means the aggregate. While the forest fire might not be the aggregate, maybe it just happened in 1 or 2 days. So we actually dealing with different spatial and temporal resolution, and we have to understand in which area we are working at. That's why now I'm trying to work with the government to use the internet technology so the data can be changed automatically. Because that's the question. And Indonesia actually already have the intention to create MHAWS. It's hard for me to spell that one, even many times we have a meetings to discuss about this one. But that's once again, what's data you can use. Prof. Reta ya, Bu ya? Merita. Oh, Merita, oke. Saya ingatnya Mama Ritanya Nagita Slavina. Sorry ya. Tadi saya udah bilang, I already told I'm not a epidemiologist, so maybe incidents, I'm not the expert on it. I'm pretty sure you know more. My assumption is really dealing based on the theoretical concept, not the data. For example, the data is stationary. We only use this kind of boundaries. No, it's more on the concept. What concept provided by the health practitioner to myself, then I will have the assumption on it. Okay, and then when your question on the assumption is that one. So the assumption can be limited as the science is growing, because this is not like regression analysis. This is not like statistical analysis. In modeling, there are many streams, but actually there are only three big groups. The first one is analysis, regression analysis, the statistic that you usually use. This is many field is using it. The second one is on mathematical modeling, that we don't even use any assumption because everything is unequal, right? 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. Actually, there is assumption in it, but we don't say assumption. And then the third one is stochastic. When you just see the pattern, you can create the model. Even you don't know what variables actually influencing the result. That's actually that one. So there are three big group of models, and this one I'm using the second one. Alright. For Pak Dahlan ya. For the last one from Pak Dahlan, what maps should be used? I can declare myself as a modeler because that's what I'm interested in. I'm very happy reading one article. This is only 4 pages, but it's telling me everything just in 4 pages. What is your objectives? That is more important, rather than you debating what data you're going to use. Whether your model can answer your objective or not. You want to go to Depok, you want to go to UI, and then you're debating about what vehicle we have to go. Train, airplane, helicopters. It is important, but the more important thing is how you can reach UI. Right? That's the same thing. So you may use OpenStreetMap, you may use Google Earth, you may use whatever happened in available at BIG. But the most important thing is the objective. Now we already regulated through Ministerial Decree number 7 2018. As long as the data are not available, you can use voluntary data set that are available. Alright, legally. So you can propose to the government as a legal report, as long as the data are not available at the government institution. That answer your question. So for example, if you use OpenStreetMap or Google Earth, the question is, this is only for your own research, or you want to provide input to the government? If you want to provide input to the government, you have to seek first from BIG. If BIG has the data, has the map, you should use the BIG dataset. Hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you, and Prof. John.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much for the question. I think the first question was about mining, tin mining. Well, if you look at Malaysia historically, tin mining is one of the major activity, industrial activity back in the British era, before in the 1940s and 1950s. Yeah. So that's when tin mining got started in Malaysia, and we became the largest producer of tin in the world. Yeah. At that time, I think we didn't know better because public health was in its infancy that time in Malaysia, and we probably had some problem with arsenic poisoning back then. I remember one reported case in Kuala Lumpur where a family was extracting groundwater from a house which was built over a disused mine, and that was the only reported cases of arsenicosis in Malaysia. Right now, we have more elaborate procedure in place because any activity which will be disruptive to the environment and health, we need to conduct what we call an environmental impact assessment. I think we have the same thing in Indonesia as well. And under the environmental impact assessment, we have the health impact assessment. So I was involved in formulating the guidance document for health impact assessment in EIA. Okay. Another probable source of arsenic poisoning which might be of interest to you is bauxite mining. About few years ago, bauxite mining shifted. China was buying bauxite a lot from Indonesia, and then there was a change in the policy in Indonesia where Indonesia stopped exporting of raw earth to China. The Govi said you must refine the bauxite and produce the aluminum and then also export to China. So what happened is that they went somewhere else and they went to Malaysia. There was a boom in bauxite mining in one of the towns in Kuantan on the east coast of West Malaysia, and we had big problem back then. I think Indonesia did the right decision, and we had overlooked this fact, and we found that arsenic from the unregulated bauxite mining had polluted our children, and we found high level of heavy metal, including arsenic in their hair. Prof. Zainina was also involved in the study. So there's a caution for you for bauxite mining, because bauxite mining has to be done very strictly according to regulation. Now, I think that the other one is about forest fire in Malaysia. Yes, we are starting to experience now. Because in Malaysia there are two components of the case. One is the local source and the transboundary source. Yeah? The transboundary source, of course, would come from Sumatra and Kalimantan, and it depends a lot on the wind direction and wind pattern. It started during the southwest monsoon and then extended into the inter-monsoon period. So now we are entering the inter-monsoon season before the commence of the northeast monsoon. So the last haze episode we experienced, Singapore also experienced, is when we had delayed onset of the northeast monsoon. Northeast monsoon blew from the Tibetan plateau, North China, across the South China Sea, bringing heavy rain, monsoon rain to Malaysia. In 2015, there was a delay in the onset of the northeast monsoon. That's why the haze prolonged, and we had that problem. So I think with this haze issue, we need a more collaborative effort. We have ASEAN. I think we really have to sit down. It's not one country problem, it's our problem. And I hope, maybe scientists, because if you look at the inter-ASEAN, inter-ministerial meeting, it's just the minister talking. When we should be doing it, we scientists should be sitting down and trying to understand this haze issue and how we can overcome it. I think we will provide a better solution than the politician.
Thank you, Prof. Jamal. Tomorrow meeting? Well, yes. Please allow me to invite two more questions, right? Pak Sugiarto, and then one more. Are there? Okay, good. Only one.
This question is to Pak Pradana. Ferdinand, I am interested in your statement that while you're creating the model, the focus is more in the objective of the model and instead of the data or others related with this creation. In my opinion, when I work with one ministry here in Indonesia, quite a lot of model developed without considering the data available and just the objective of the effort. But if I can say that most of the model and the program that they then create based on this model is, I think it's maybe about 70% or 80%. The result is very bad, unsuccessful. So, what do you think about this? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Sugiarto, for the question. This is a very challenging question. So what I mean actually is the data itself is a first stage of a model. Because, for example, how much population in Depok is a model. Because then you took samples. So it's really depending on how you took the samples. That's why many sources can have different answers for the number of population. That's the first thing. The second one, many times we didn't take any actions because we are debating about the accuracy. This is very important in my field because in climate change we can project up to 100 years from now. In the US, for example, the father of the modeling, Professor Filter, we worked for some time with him. Even we say disregard the models, just do the actions. That's what I mean. Because the objective, the action is more important rather than debating the accuracy. I'm not telling the accuracy is not important. And the third one is dealing with your statement about the policy might not be right because they are driven based on the bad data. Just make it simple. It could be not because driven based on the bad data. It could be driven because the wrong concept. It's not very strong the theoretical background. For example, what we are going to do in the health sectors. What is the main objective? It is the objective to avoid the decreasing risk, the increasing risk to human health or to the environment. This is different. Because when we want, it could be you might live in an area when the environmental risk is very high, but you're still healthy. Because you're very rich, you can just go using the helicopter. On the other hand, you might be very healthy, but you don't have much resources, and then you are living in the very bad environment. So this is what I mean by the objective. That's why now when I'm working with the government, I'm working with a couple of ministries, I'm trying to involve in start building a better concept and framework. Make it very clear what variable we need and everything. Because the data itself can be wrong. Right? Because we might manipulate the data for our own interest. If we already have very strong concept and agree on it. I say many times when I took the policies for my doctoral degree, the policymakers must have very strong intuition. Because you cannot wait the scientists to work and provide everything to you. That's actually my reason. Thank you.
Okay, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, now we are at the end of the panel sessions, and I do not want to conclude all the presentation, but let's say that we have two speakers, and we are discussing about the micro approach and macro approach. So it's depend on us how to deal with this, because those approaches is well, the scientific base of the evidence or scientific base of the discipline. So those approaches is very important. Micro approach is very important for answering the causality. It's very popular among the health science, and then macro approach is very important for those who are working on prediction, projection, estimation, and so. How to deal with these two approaches, of course, depend on our objective to do. Thank you very much for the speakers, Professor Jamal Muhammad and Dr. Kevin. I'd like to finish this presentation and give it to the MC.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause for our speakers on the presentation. And now I would like to invite Professor Sudian Kamso as a scientific committee to come to the stage to handing the souvenir and the certificate to the speakers and moderator of the phase 3 of this plenary session. And continue with the group photograph. Continue with the group photograph. All the speakers and Professor Sudian Kamso. And once again, thank you to all the speakers and moderators for this plenary session. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the plenary session 3, and now we'll be heading to the lunch break. And before that, I would like to inform about the lunch box that you should take for all the speakers. You are pleased to take yours at the staff lunch. And to all the participants, you are pleased to take yours at the lobby of A building. And just to inform, after the lunch break, we still have 2 sessions ahead, including phase 4 of the plenary session about health informatics that will start on 1 p.m. And the closing ceremony of the 3rd Faculty of Public Health Universitas Indonesia Science Festival. And I would like to inform that we don't use any plastic bottles, so make sure you bring your tumbler with you. Yet we provide dispensers and arsenal around the venue that you can really use. Please don't leave anything behind and bring your snack box whenever you want to leave this room and place it right. If you need any assistance, please let us know, and thank you. And again, I remind you, we would like to inform that we're having a process for awarding for the poster presentation for the most favorite posters. So make sure when each of you attending the poster presentation, you get a circle-shaped sticker, and and please place it on your most favorite posters. One sticker or one poster. The most favorite poster is the one which got the most stickers. So make sure you choose the best one. Thank you and have a nice day.